We're going to talk today about using JavaScript. um, we're not going to write JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language that is used for the web. Every major browser supports JavaScript. Um, so it has variables and it has functions, and it's a typical programming language if you've ever worked with a programming language before. So again, we're not going to write it. That's beyond the scope of this class. What we are going to do is look for what we might call plugins. JavaScripts that were written for other people to use that include directions. As part of this, if you look at Canvas, as I'm looking at now, you'll see there's also an overview of jQuery, which is basically just JavaScript library that's also made to function for people that don't know how to write JavaScript. Comes oftentimes with CSS and different components that help the JavaScript work. Okay, a lot of the links I'm going to use today are on Canvas. And I'm going to start with the files, and what we're going to look at is JavaScript called Lightbox, which is used probably more than anything else. It's used a lot. So, and as always, there's demo files that I will be using that are on Canvas. Okay, so I've already loaded the site, and I kept this gray background on. I'll take this off after a while, just so you can, if you want to check out the layout, you can. That is my middle wrap. I'm going to go ahead and just disable the background for now, just because it'll look better. All right. So we have this site, and we want to have all these thumbnails show a large picture. So this is a project I worked on when I was spending Easter week in Sevilla. So appropriate that we're looking at it this time of the year. And I have the thumbnails already laid out in a grid of 10. And what I want to do is be able to click on one of these guys and have it opened, a big image. So just make it super easy so I don't have to go to a separate page or have them on a long, drawn out scrolling window. Lightbox will be super efficient. Let us scroll through all the images if we want without having to go back and click on the thumbnails. Once you get rolling, we can avoid having to do that, but still has the options of going to any individual thumbnail. So how do we do Lightbox, and how do you do JavaScript in general? Well, on Canvas, I have a whole bunch of places that you can try, including W3 Schools that we've looked at a bit, and they have a how-to section. So not all of the stuff in the how-to section uses JavaScript. What you'll have to do is look, and you literally will be able to see it. If you go to, let's see here, let's say we want to do full screen navigation. We check on that, and it'll tell you, okay, you need to do this, and then you need to add the CSS, add HTML, add CSS. There should be a section where it says add JavaScript. So you see down here it says add JavaScript. So this would qualify as something that you can use for this last final project for class. All right, so as long as you see where it says add JavaScript, or you're cutting and pasting something, it'll always say script at the beginning of it, or something similar, or just say JavaScript. So that would be up for grabs. You could try that one out. Like I said, we're going to use one on Dynamic Drive. I've already bookmarked it. It's under their image galleries and viewers, which makes a great way to show a ton of images without having to take up a lot of your screen real estate. So just to follow these, all you have to do is just read the directions, and there's going to be, you're not exactly making what they're making, so there's going to be some sort of modification. So first of all, if you scroll through, it says directions. Simply download Lightbox version 2.1, which I have done. It is on my desktop. I'm going to move it over here to this window, so everyone can see along with my local root folder. So there's the file that you can download. This is Lightbox. And if I crack that open, we'll see what's in it. And you can see there's this JS for JavaScript. There's an index, so I can try this out. It's great if they come with something like this, because then I can just open up a tab drag my index in, and see if it works. These are actually the instructions, and here's the example. So there we go. It's working. It's a small image, you can tell. They could have made a larger image and it would open up larger on the screen. That's really that simple, and it won't. So big images are better. All right. So it's wonderful that it actually has a little demo here. These are, we're downloading these free, so you have to maybe temper your expectations. Sometimes people aren't such good technical writers and their instructions aren't so great, but we're going to follow the instructions. It says step 1, insert the below code in the head section of your page. So all I got to do is take these, and if you look closely, these are really all just links. And this is important because I'm going to cut and paste these, and we'll explain why the links are important. Well, as we know, everything based on a web page works with links. So it's important that we have everything in the right location based on the links. So let's jump over here. I'm going to go to my code. I'm going to go up to the very top where I have, I don't want to bust open my CSS. I used internal styles for this just to make it easier in this demo. So I'm going to collapse this just for a minute. And then on line 6, we have an open line. So I'm going to put all these guys in there. Okay, now I can uncollapse this. And you can tell, so this is saying text JavaScript, src, JS, prototype JS. So it's saying that there's this JavaScript file in this folder called JS. That tells me where in my local root folder I'm supposed to put this. So starting at the top level, there should be a folder called JS, and in that folder called prototype. So let's go over here to Lightbox for a minute, and my local root folder. My index is my start HTML, just to make it easier on y'all. And so here's JavaScript folder. I'm going to option drag that in here to make a copy of it. And I should see something called prototype JS, just like it says back here. There's something called JS Scriptalicious. There's Scriptalicious. It's in this JS folder. And again, look at how it is in relationship to my start file, the file I'm working on. It's folder and then a file. All right, so notice, so this is my entire local root folder. So this structure is super important. All right. There's also a link that says CSS lightbox.css. So in terms of my downloads again, there's this folder called CSS that came in Lightbox. Again, I'm going to option drag that into here. Again, so I have a copy just so I don't mess up, in case I mess up. And then in there's Lightbox CSS. And again, look at that link. So that stuff's all in the right spot. All right, so we did that, all together just because there was some links we were cutting and pasting. We just had to verify that they were correct. All right, step 2, create your thumbnail image links. All right, so here's where we have to sort of not customize it, but we have to pay attention to what we're doing. So in this example, they have a link. They're linking the word image. It says image number 1, that's text. They're linking that. Here's the end of the link. Here's the beginning of the link. So, we can write all this stuff out. I have different images. My images have slightly different names. But notice they also give a few other examples. So in terms of if you want to link an image or that sort of thing. But we are linking a thumbnail. So if we want, we can take this piece, this linking piece, and use that. I'm going to put on my clipboard just in case, but we're going to go to our code. I'm having a hard time getting this. Okay, oops, dang it. Try this one last time. Okay, I'm copying that. All right, and again, I'm not going with image 1 because I don't want that text image 1. I have a thumbnail, so I'm going to have to make sure I close my link when I put this over here in my Dreamweaver thing. So let's go to Dreamweaver. I'm linking my thumbnails. They're all down here in my buttons div. I'm going to put this in split view for a minute just so you guys can see. It's those thumbnails. So you can see I've actually made the link. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and insert a comment here. And cut and paste my stuff in there, just so I have it here. And we can take a look at the two. Okay, so they have a link. Their link goes to a picture called images, images1. So they have a folder. I also actually have a folder with my images, and mine is also called image1, except I don't have a space. So, you know, they have a hyphen there. I don't have a hyphen. That's okay. But the point is, mine's already linked. What's missing is this REL Lightbox and this title. I don't have that in my link, so I'm going to copy that out, go over here, and paste that part. Okay. Just because and all this is doing is telling it, hey, I'm going to take that space out because they didn't have a space, so who knows. This is telling it to use Lightbox to display this image. And this is going to let us put a caption on. All right, so let's go back to the directions and see what else we do. But my link is already hooked up. And the way I did my links, just like anything else in Dreamweaver, I clicked on it on the thumbnail. And then I went to the, you went to properties, the properties inspector. And I used this little point to file for the link. Went to my files where I had my images. So there's image1 JPEG. You can see my, this is the actual SRC of the image. So that's my thumbnail, my image button 2, that's my thumbnail. This is the actual link. And so I use the point to file, and just keep in mind the pointer doesn't actually line up with my cursor on my computer because I don't know why. So I actually put the cursor over image 2. And that's how I made all my links. Then I just went to the next thumbnail and linked that to image 3 using the point to file and the image 3 over here. All right, or I could have literally typed the directory structure in here. Notice they're all going to be essentially the same. Here's number 4. The only thing that's changing is the number, because they're all in the same folder called images, and they're all called images 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. All right, so they're all linked up already. So in terms of the instructions, I've already done that part in Dreamweaver. Okay, I mean, I also could have taken this whole line and copied that and then inserted an image here instead of this text. Unless I did want to use text, then I could write my own text over this. All right, so let's see what else it says. It says, Lightbox version 2 also adds the ability to group multiple image links together, so the image gallery is created out of the enlarged images. And you can see the way they're linking it together. This is exactly what we just cut and pasted with the addition of these brackets and a word road trip. So they don't have the caption section in here, which is weird, where it had the title. But just keep in mind, it's the word Lightbox, REL equals Lightbox, and then road trip. So let's go back to our code, where it said REL equals Lightbox, and then I just need a square bracket, and then a word that I don't even need to use the same word that they used. I could use whatever word I want. I could use the word ceremony, because this is ceremonial spaces. All right, now that I have this how I want it, I mean, I would go back and finish reading the instructions, but I know because I've used this a lot. I can take this piece and I can put it in some of these. I probably should test this first, would probably be the smart move. But I'm going to put it in 3 and then we'll test it. I'm not going to do them all. I can also go ahead, I don't need line 122. I'm going to keep that for y'all just in case. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move it just because it looks weird right there. Cut that out of there. And I'm going to put it in line 121. Then I will save this file to Canvas so you guys can look at it too. Okay, notice nothing up here has changed, except these all say my caption now, which is the title. Here's where I would start to title. The first one was, oh, I can't remember the titles of these guys now. We'll call it Sevilla. Dark robes. All right, so now when I roll over that, you'll see it'll say Sevilla dark robes. So these are where I can just put the title. I could put a super long title. You'll see that this shows up under the image when we try the Lightbox. My caption, we'll call this second one. Oh, that's I can't remember how to spell orangutan. We'll call it guarding Mesquita. All right, so there we go. I'll spell check it later. All right, let's go back to the instructions and see if there's anything else. I'm also going to check my, these images were their images for the test, but notice there's some other images in here too. There's like close, and this close label, and this image one, and this load, and this next. And again, they're in a folder called images. Well, I already have a folder called images. That's typically what most people call their image folder. So I have to be a little careful, right? Because I can't just take this folder and copy, drag it over here, because I already have an images folder and I'd be erasing the images that I need for my website. So what I'm going to do is just expand that, expand this, shift click these guys, and again, option drag these guys into my images folder. All right, I got them all. They're in the same folder called images. They're just combined with mine. Mine is spelled exactly. It's case sensitive. It's all lowercase like we should be doing. So I have all my images in there too. Okay, I got the CSS. I got the images. I got the JavaScript. I don't need this index. That's their little test demo. Let's go back and check to see if there's any more things we have to do for this. And let's see, got our links. That's it. Enjoy the superb script. Okay. Oh, also at the bottom, they say for your information, Lightbox JavaScript has some configurable variables. There's a file loading image. There's close image. These are things we can switch. We can control the size of our image. Resizing. Okay, so a lot of JavaScripts will have that, and if it's documented well in the instructions, they'll tell you what you can change. Sometimes you actually have to look at the actual JavaScript, and you can see the markup, and sometimes they'll comment it, again, depending on who put it together. I'll show you how to do that in just a sec, how we can look at that in Dreamweaver. I'm going to scroll here. All right, let's try it out and see what happens. If it doesn't work, we'll come back and check the instructions again. So we will come down here and we will do, let me move this screen over here. Google Chrome, save, and then boom, that easy. There's my title. As you can see, I could type something super long. If I was using this like for portfolio website, I could have my work show up here and I could give the title, the media, I have a lot of room here. I could even start to add some formatting with my style sheet if I wanted to. That's what their CSS style sheet does. If I want to crack that open. I've even opened these closed images up. This is just an image. You can open these up in Photoshop. Keep the same size of the image, but use your own like a different type if you wanted to. You can even modify the X into something, but you can change that graphic. Just keep the same title when you resave it, and it will work. Okay, let's see if there's the next thing that appears. There's my second one, and I only did the first three, so nothing will happen now. There's no more forward button because I haven't hooked up the rest. But now that I know everything's working correctly, also notice I didn't put a caption on that last one yet. These are little bunnies up here, so also appropriate for this weekend. All right, so that's how easy it is. Just follow instructions. There should be JavaScript. If you come across any, like some of them on like CodePen and places like that can be a little difficult for people who are just doing this for the first time. But you can always fire your questions at me, and I will try to make a little responsive QuickTime movie to show you how it works if I can figure it out. There have been a few that I could not figure out because they were way too complicated and the documentation was absolutely horrible. So if you find something like that, best option is to, roll with the punches, find something else from a different site that's similar. There's plenty of different JavaScript plugins out there and JavaScript code snippets. So good luck and have fun. Try to find something, obviously, that's appropriate to your site that makes it easier to work with. All right. And with this, like, maybe I will just want to see this image first. I can load that up and work backwards. I can, close this, anything I want. So pretty ideal for an image gallery. Oh, one final thing. So just remember when I cut and pasted the step 1 and I put these links to the scripts and to the CSS in there, it shows me as soon as I do that what this page needs. And sure enough, there are some comments in here. Mostly they're just copyright in this case, but that's the prototype JavaScript. They're scriptalicious. If you really are excited about things, it is a little unnerving that Dreamweaver says there's an error, but I'm not going to mess with their it's working. I'm not going to mess with their script. But just to look at their CSS, because that's what you would understand. So, it's showing you, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like you can probably figure out what the outer image container is, what the text is, the containers. So, the best thing to do is sometimes just play with it. Your CSS designer, you can look at all the different pieces. And if you want to try to modify anything, what I would do is put a background color on it first, and then you can play with it. And again, if you mess up this style, it's an external style sheet. So if you mess it up, that's why you can go back to your original folder, grab the CSS. There's only one file in there, so I can take this whole folder or just copy this file again into my local root folder over top of the one I messed up if I do mess it up. But you probably won't need to mess with it too much because it looks pretty good right out of the box. All right, that is all. I will see you for the next lesson.